Good afternoon. My name is Taylor Leary. I am the owner and certified financial planner with 4 Points Wealth Management. It's hard to believe that 1 year ago, on March 13th, our President Donald Trump declared COVID a national emergency. On that same day, he also instituted a travel ban for non-US citizens traveling from Europe. That created a snowball effect for what was to come. Essentially, we closed our borders, and pretty much every country closed their borders thereafter. And while we've started to see things open up briefly, and from time to time, things have not been normal. And as we start to see the vaccine roll out, we've started to sense a kind of a collective sigh of relief, and people are starting to look at the next phase of what travel really means. And one of the things that really kind of typified the reason of putting together this webinar was the fact that a lot of clients, the folks that are in attendance today, started asking me questions that were talking about travel. What does the next year look like? For many people, this upended their financial plan in many ways for the best, because all of a sudden, the last year, their travel plans have been on hiatus. That delayed wedding that you haven't gone to yet, the bucket list trip that you haven't gotten to take yet, or the family trip that is going to be delayed until at least later this year, or possibly pushed out even further. And so I decided that it would be a great opportunity to talk with my friend, Kay Fahlberg with Ippo Travel. Kay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you, Taylor. I'm so excited about this opportunity.
Well, I'm so happy to have you and your expertise and your wealth of knowledge on today for the webinar. Today's going to be a very fun day because we are going to have the ability to learn more about what's going on in the world of travel, and we're going to talk about where we are, where we've been, where we're going, what's good places to travel. There's going to be a lot of things that we are going to touch on, and we're going to use Kay's beautiful knowledge of the industry as well as her experience in travel and helping people create those lifetime memories in travel. And in a post-COVID world, it's highly necessary. So Kay, thank you so much for being on here today. Before we dive into the nuts and bolts of today's event, I want to talk a little bit about how to get the most out of the event. So first off, we're in the Zoom culture. A year ago, it's hard to believe that Zoom would just become the moniker for getting on a video conference. But look at this. We're here today, and that's just, I guess that's just learning and kind of being a part of things. But in order to make the most out of this event, use the chat feature to go back and forth. If you have something to drop in the chat, we'll do our best to kind of monitor that along the way. And you'll notice that it's going to be on the bottom end of the chart, or on the bottom end of the screen, excuse me. We'll also use Q&A. So if you have a burning question, drop a question. That's going to be, initially it's going to be anonymous. So, if you're feeling a little bit, maybe not so confident about your question, definitely use the Q&A to ask us questions. And then once we answer those questions, if it's in chat or it's actually, verbally, then what we will actually end up doing is posting that to the Q&A. And then finally, we're going to use the poll questions. So we want to make sure that this is as interactive as possible. And so we're going to use the polls. So, that's going to be talking a lot about the travel and what's going to, what your thoughts are on things. So use the polls, and we'll talk about those results when we get them. And then finally, I'm very excited that we have a giveaway. So this beautiful water bottle, one of these that's nice and sealed, and you can win this at the end by getting one of our last poll questions correct. So excited that, and it's logoed with Kay Fahlberg's Ippo Travel logo. So without further ado, let's get into the agenda. Okay, if you would. All right, so first off, we want to talk a little bit about what Ippo Travel is all about. Kay is a travel advisor. We'll then look at the current tourism landscape and then dive into where are the border openings? What's going on with that? Who's opened, who's closed, who's accepting tourist dollars, and who's keeping people out right now. And then what's so interesting to me is, the change in what COVID's done, what the coronavirus has done as far as what people have done for travel. This has upended the travel industry in a very big way. And so we're going to look at travel styles and themes that have been very, very apparent in the post-COVID world. Then talking about travel prep and tips. Kay, as you know, has kind of the pulse on the industry. And there are some very particular rules that have been instituted in order to travel to other countries. So knowing some of the pro tips that are out there is going to be very valuable if you are going to be boarding a plane or traveling over borders in the coming months. This is going to be exciting. I'm very much looking forward to the sample itineraries. So again, with some of the things that Kay does, she can put together some of those amazing trips that you'll never forget. And we're going to dive into a couple of those itineraries of what you could possibly expect considering where we are today. Finally, then we're going to jump into the giveaway quiz, and then we'll end it with some Q&A. So we'll make sure that we're going to stick around at the end to have that conversation and make sure that it's very back and forth and very engaging, or at least as engaging as we possibly can be. All right, so let's jump into the presentation. And first, I want to introduce Kay Fahlberg. So Kay Fahlberg was born and raised in Takarazuka, Japan. It's near Osaka and Kyoto. I did my very best to not butcher that, but I'm sure she's grinning because I absolutely did. And while her grandmother was trying to teach her tea ceremonies, flower arrangements, and how to become the perfect wife, Kay was a bit of a rebel. She was always out there. She was very athletic, getting into softball, volleyball, alpine skiing. And so she brought that to Colorado. She's been in the United States, living in the United States, calling the US quote unquote home since 1990. She first came over for study, and I guess, which is so shocking to me, Kay, that you ended up in, I think it was Memphis or somewhere in the South, New Orleans or something like that. And somehow you ended up in Colorado, and we're so grateful for that. But traveling is in Kay's DNA. She's traveled to over 20 countries, and she's going to share with us some of those experiences. So she's a very well traveled individual, and she knows how to navigate the travel landscape. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Kay Fahlberg with Ippo Travel.
Thank you, Taylor, for the introduction, and thank you all of you coming to this webinar. And I really appreciate this opportunity to be able to share this industry, what's going on in the travel business and industry, so you can prepare for your next trip. My name is Kay Fahlberg. I am a travel advisor and the owner of Ippo Travel. And as most of you recognize, more and more people are getting vaccinated, and it's becoming to be true that there is an ending to this COVID tunnel. And I just received my own vaccination, the second vaccination on Friday, and I never thought getting vaccinated is going to be so liberating. So I hope everybody else is feeling that way and get ready for the next journey. And with that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Ippo Travel. Ippo Travel, I am the owner of the company, but I am not the only person who is putting everything together to help my clients traveling. I am affiliated with an Endeavor Travel, that is, they are the host agency, and they do my administrative work and marketing support. And this is also a network of experienced advisors. So I work with them and share the information and insight. Some people are traveling, and then we reach out to them and say, hey, what did you find? What are the things I could share with my clients? I'm also affiliated with a consortium called Virtuoso. And some of you might be aware of that. The Virtuoso is a leading global network of agencies and then specializing in exclusive and experiential travel. There are over 1,800 partners with the world's best companies, and those are handpicked with the criteria that meets the virtuoso. I, as a virtuoso advisor, can offer perks and amenities that are only offered through the booking through the advisors of virtuoso. I am also a member of ASTA, and that is an American Society of Travel Advisors. And I am certified for the certified member, which means we are adhering to the code of ethic and then conducting this business honestly and competently. And with that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the travel, Ippo Travel. My specialty is to create a customized trip for either solo or individual couple or to a small group of about 18 people. I will definitely use the insider knowledge, which means directly working with the local suppliers and get to know exactly what's going on in the local destination. And as I touched on, the virtuoso perks, we can offer that, and then VIP status, and then special guide for the specific locations. And most of all, it's really the peace of mind that you can have as you travel by working with travel advisors who are constantly looking at and watching out and learning what is going on in the destination and the industry and the regulations right now, particularly. We can offer that service as well. And just as an example for the amenity of Virtuoso, we can get free upgrade, daily breakfast, and credit, the hotel credit that you can up to around $100. You can use it for hotels and spas and stuff in the location. And then as a VIP status to be able to get the early check-in and late checkout as well.
And I can attest to that. We used Virtuoso on our honeymoon, and it was unbelievable to be able to have those perks. And as an example, we were in the south of France, and we got access to the beach clubs and got free towels and stuff like that. Little did we know that it costs like €50 for that sort of stuff. So cheers to that. That was amazing.
Yeah, even just a breakfast only. When you think about those nice hotels and high 5-star, 4-star hotels, are not. It's totally worth it.
Absolutely.
So with that, before we get into a little bit meat, I would like to share the places I have been to. These are some of the places I've been to. It's just a quick slideshow that I want to show you. And I'm hoping that just gives you curiosity or maybe excitement for your next trip. And if you have any questions for those locations, I'd be happy to help. And you might just recognize, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been there. So just enjoy. The last year really was a difficult year for a travel agent, but we were connecting. And these are the local places that we can go, and we connected. And then the local suppliers send pictures like this and let us know how locals are feeling about receiving travelers again. And most of them are excited. So I am excited to be able to help more people to go to those places again. There you go. Obviously, that's the Netherlands, and it's a popular place to bicycle around. And when I went there, I was a little bit late, so I didn't see the whole carpet of the colors, but it's just such a beautiful place to go to. So with that, Taylor, the first polling question, I'd like to see a temperature of people, how they feel about traveling, particularly within US.
So poll question, I'm going to launch the poll right now. When are you anticipating to start traveling within the United States? So this is more of a domestic travel question. So the first, and this is be outside of the borders of Colorado, let's put it. So 1, you've already started to travel. 2, you have a trip already planned. 3, summer of 2021 is kind of when you're going to be looking at doing some domestic travel. In the fall, you're going to kind of push that out. You're going to wait until 2022 when things get a little bit more clear, or I guess that would be the third one, is waiting until things get a little bit more clear. So right now it's interesting. I'm very fascinated with this. We're seeing about 50% of folks, of respondents, right now waiting until things get a little bit more clear. So probably going to get that. And we're seeing this, and this is actually kind of an interesting insight, is with the economy opening up and with the vaccine rollout, I know you're going to get to this chart here in a little bit, but we're starting to see more and more individuals get vaccinated. I have my first shot, and so you're starting to see a much younger population getting their vaccinations. And again, the vaccine thing is all up to your own kind of volition. How do you feel? I'm not going to make any judgments if you're getting it or you're not getting it, but I am seeing that as we start to see more and more people get vaccinated, it's creating a more sense of confidence in our economy, and we're seeing that interact with both our economic conditions and our market-related conditions, which has a huge effect on the travel industry as well.
Great.
Cool. Well, this is interesting. So we have most people have responded up to this point. About 45% are saying that they're going to wait until things become a little bit more clear, whereas about 30% are saying they've already started. And then we have kind of a mixed bag, but it does look like people within the next few months really will start to get out and travel a little bit more, while another subset is actually going to wait till things get a little bit more clear in their world. So love to see that. That's some awesome insight. Back to you, Kay.
Great. Thank you, Taylor. So next slide is to talk about current tourism landscape. What is going on and what's happening in this travel world? So the global revenue for the travel tourism is estimated to decrease by about 30.4%, 34.7%. That's an estimate of about $447.4 billion compared to the original 2020 forecast. That was 712 billion revenue last year. So it's a huge hit to the industry. What does that mean? It means the flight has been reduced by about 60% year over year. What it means to you is when you travel, you may see a lot of people on the flight, or you may hear people who traveled already might say, oh, the flight was really packed. But that's because the volume of the flight is reduced. Something to be aware. The flight that might have been available early in the morning or late at night or the middle of the day that for your preference may not be available. So the tip is to be flexible and just, adjust to what's available. It's going to come back, but it might take a while. Just that US polling that we just saw, people are waiting. So that's one of the things that you might want to consider.
So do you think that has a more of effect on your personal preference? Because it sounds like they're not limiting the amount of seats that can be occupied, but they're limiting the amount of flights they're being taken each day. Is that right?
Yeah, so one day there used to be 10 flights to go to a specific destination. We may have just 4.
Oh, right.
So they are limiting that, but the middle seat is now gone, right? They're not keeping that open. They're packing.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what's happening.
So travel with 3 or more and make sure you're all in the same row at least.
Yeah. Or buy 2 seats or something if you want to do that. That's available. And then touchless technologies, as you know, many parts of this country or the world is employing the 41%. 41% of the global transaction now is being operated with a touchless technology. And 74% of Americans are saying, I'm just going to keep this touchless screen and touchless technology even after pandemic. So that's going to stay. That's expected to stay. And now vaccinations in the US, as Taylor touched on, people in this country, more and more people are getting vaccinated. But keep in mind, receiving countries, even though the border may be open, their population are not vaccinated. So as you travel, just to make sure the social distancing, all the requirements that the country has put on so they can keep the border open, make sure to follow that so we can continue to travel. And then other things to consider is TSA requirements. As you're familiar with the global entry and TSA check, if you are signed up for that, that will be a good option too. have to get through the customs. And I mentioned this in the global yellow fever card. The reason why I put it there is a lot of those countries are requiring the travelers to have the vaccination card. We don't know what that exactly going to look like, but the global yellow fever card is considered to be kind of like a predecessor of this card. It's already working, and it's going to be similar to that. If you have the vaccination card, like I have this one here, I'm putting this in my passport. Just so I have it, and most likely that's what's they're going to be asking at the beginning, unless they change that. And so the WHO and then CDC are working together to figure out what that looks like. Travel insurance. I highly, highly recommend purchasing it, particularly now. And then a COVID clause and medical clause are changing. So make sure you understand what the fine prints means, what they cover, and cancel for any reason. That was the first thing they stopped last year. As soon as pandemic started, it's coming back, but in a different way. Limitations and disclaimers are a little bit different. So make sure you understand what it covers. And if you have any questions or any details, you can certainly contact me or contact directly to the insurance company. Before you sign up, you understand it. And the travel insurance, and Taylor, you're aware of that, some of those requirements you have to purchase within a certain time frame. It's either 2 weeks or 3 weeks from the first deposit to have pre-existing medical conditions and any other requirements. So timing of booking and making the payment means something. And passport and visa, I put it there. Because it takes so long to get your passport updated right now. They're not fully operated. The passport agency is not fully operated yet. When you send the passport in, it'll take a while for them to process. And some countries, depending on your destination, they require minimum of 6 months valid passport from the arrival date of the destination. So if it looks like your passport might be expired before that, then it's a good idea to go ahead and renew it now. Cruise is the questionable one. I have no idea what to share with you, but the cruise industry is pushing to start the cruise early. And the early that I'm hearing is this summer. I don't know if it's reasonable to do, but one of the things that to consider is a lot of people who canceled the cruise last year received the voucher, and you have to use that voucher within a given year. That's another reason the cruise company is going to push to get that out. So keep eye on that if you are planning on going on cruise, and even including domestic. So Alaska and those places are going to follow the same requirement.
So, Kay, we had a question from one of our participants. He asked, how long is it taking to get a new passport? Typically, the historical number has been about 6 to 12 weeks. What would you expect the passport timeline to be right now?
I heard double.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, it may not be the case, but one of the clients who did try to get that, there was a stall it was not normally, if they process everything as expected, it's around 18 weeks is what I heard. But if something goes wrong, then the recovery is even taking longer as well. So I suggest giving yourself plenty of time to renew that.
Okay.
And reservations, when you get to a destination, make sure the attractions and events and shows that you want to do are open. And if not, do you need a reservation in advance, or can you just go to the window and buy it? So those things are going to change, and it's already changed. check that and make sure if you need to do the pre-booking, I suggest doing that before you leave your country or your city. And then I'll definitely going into the borders in the further down slide.
Yeah, let's do that next.
Yep. And next actually is a polling question, number 2.
There we go. Let's jump into it. So I'm going to relaunch the poll. Continue. End poll. No, that was the first one. Sorry about that. All right, domestic now. I'm going to launch the new poll here. Now let's talk about international travel. When are you anticipating to start traveling to international destinations? I've already traveled internationally already. I have a trip planned soon. The summer of 2021 or 2021, the fall, the winter of 21-22, or again, waiting until there's more clarity on international travel. I know that in my world, I've got a number of people in my family that have already traveled to Mexico. I've even heard of a client going to Colombia or Aruba. So yeah, definitely seeing that people are getting a little bit more excited. But what's interesting is some of those folks are actually traveling to see family in those countries. So yeah, very interesting. So right now we're hovering right around about 50%, waiting until there's more clarity on international travel, which probably makes a little bit of sense because of what you're about to talk to. So we'll continue the process of keeping the polling open. But if you want to jump into the borders, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so before getting to the borders, I'm just going to quickly show you this. Here's the vaccination status. When you look at the percentage of the vaccination, at least people who received one vaccination, US is not really the top of that, but that's because of the overall population is different. And then going into the more absolute number of the vaccinations, for those who have received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccination, and this is as of April 12th, US definitely is the highest. We are vaccinating more people, but considering the percentage of the population, we are not the top of that.
But I got to say, you think about Israel and you're like, all right, that's like, inoculating the Denver metro area versus, the Western United States. But, you have to give ourselves somewhat of a pat on the back. 120 million people as of earlier this month have been at least partially vaccinated. I have to say that's an astonishing number, just on an absolute basis. Obviously, relatively speaking, it's not the greatest number, but goodness gracious, I think we need to give ourselves a little bit of a pass here because gosh, that's a huge number.
Yeah, this is huge. And then it's been 10 days since that day. So I'm sure this number went up a lot higher than that. Now here's the border opening. I pulled this April 6th, but I don't think it changed that much. These are a list of countries who are open or are going to open to those who have fully vaccinated, which means at least 2 weeks after the second shot. So these are the countries that's available right now that you could go to, and there are more to come. And then some of the things that you want to consider is the 40% of the destination, which is 97 countries, are implementing the total or partial border closure. And 30% of destinations, which is 65 countries, are suspended flights totally or partially. And 18% of destination is enforced border closure, 7% destination, which is only the 16 countries required visitors to quarantine and implement. So as you connect flight, if the country is completely closed, you shouldn't be able to buy that flight. But if there's a connection in one of those countries that are not open, you are not able to, or you don't want to get out of the airport. Coming back may require a quarantine. So just be mindful of what your the itinerary look like, which country you're stopping over.
Yeah. Well, is there somewhere on that list? I think Iceland's a very popular place. Do you also have to have a test for these places to get in, even if you're fully vaccinated? Like as far as like a negative COVID test?
Most of the countries who are accepting fully vaccinated foreign travelers are now foregoing with the testing, but not all of them. So make sure you meet the requirement.
Yeah, it's like backcountry skiing. Know before you go.
That's right. That's right. It's not like if you get there, somehow it's going to happen. This is pretty strict. So if you can't get in, you can't get in.
Right. It sounds like the lesson here is don't be surprised at the border. Do your homework up front.
Right. Some countries are requiring, even with Hawaii too, that they are requiring specific type of test that you have to go to a specific location. So it's not like, oh, I got this home kit. This is good. It looks good. So I'm just going to bring this result. It's not going to work.
This is a little bit of a side trip, but in the chat feature, if you have a moment for our attendees, for you at home, on this list, is there a country that you're looking at that says, gosh, I'd really like to go there once I'm fully vaccinated? I'd love to hear your answers in the chat box.
While you're doing that, I was just talking to my client who are going to Iceland. Yep. And Iceland, volcanoes erupting, but the border is open. One of the things that I thought was interesting, the country is open to more Americans than Europeans because we are more vaccinated.
Mm. Interesting. Interesting. All right.
Are you seeing anything?
I'll keep an eye on the chat there, and then
okay.
We've got Belize, Australia, but they're not. Japan. It's interesting. Somebody said I'm surprised that no Asian countries are on the open list yet. Japan is closed, but I thought that South Korea might open. Any thoughts there?
I thought China might open.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it. Japan is struggling. So the Olympic is going to happen and the athlete's going to go, but it's still close to the general public. Mm-hmm. And we just have to see how that's going to go. I'm hearing, particularly for Japan, Olympic is going to be a good indicator to know which direction it's going to go. But my guess overall, though, this is just my opinion, when those countries who are depending on the tourism somehow has got to open. The economy is hitting really tough. So if you're vaccinated, I think you probably have a better chance to go to those countries before everybody else.
Interesting. Cool. All right.
So with that, I'm going to move on to travel trends and style. How are people traveling now? Accommodation, when you think about the accommodations, people are looking at boutique hotels and hotels with cottages, which makes sense. You can do the social distancing, and along with that line, villas are popular. When you think about Caribbean and Mexico, there are so many villas, and you have an option to be able to hire a chef to cook for you. So with that, people are getting together with friends and families and renting a nice bigger villa to spend time together. That's one of the popular things. And similar to that, ranch. You can rent and stay in ranch location. That has activities as well. And the families and multi-generation trips are popular there as well.
Mm. And when you say ranch, would you think of like a Devil's Thumb Ranch here in the in Colorado as sort of that, or is that more of like a hotel? Or are you thinking like the Dude Ranch that that's more?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's more like a Dude Ranch, and they are upgrading their accommodations.
Interesting.
So it's getting nicer and nicer. They have their own tub in a room, and then of course activities. Taylor, you're familiar with that, and if you want to travel with someone who trained the buffalo, like Ralphie, maybe he can come with you.
There you go. I don't know how many people are going to want to travel with me.
So, and then the other thing will be a luxury RV.
Okay.
Luxury RV, but one of the things, it's still RV. You have to park, you have to change your water, you have to take care of that, unless you want to hire somebody to drive for you. And the pricing for that is so the standard RV, the luxury RV is around $1,500 to $200 per week.
Okay.
And then premier, the premium luxury IV could start somewhere around $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
And I
and
see
then
that glamping got on this list. So when you think about that, are you seeing like with the accommodations that there's a bit of an uptick in kind of that the price? I'm not seeing like the all inclusive didn't make this list.
right, all inclusive, but available, and definitely you could
Of
do
course,
that.
but you're seeing more of a trend in these smaller type of boutique hotels, things like that. But I also see a little bit maybe a higher price tag.
Yes. So the reason why, one of the, so the thing that I am aware of, and you probably hear that more often, Taylor, is because people couldn't spend last year and they are doing a revenge spending for activities and travel and events. Like, well, I have money that I wanted to spend for travel last year and I couldn't. So I'm just going to double my budget this year and then do something nicer and then something that I've already always wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I think that might be coming from that as well. And
Yeah,
glamping, of course, is
we're
optional.
having people come to me and asking for twice the money, but hey, they didn't ask for it last year. So, I think, we got to make sure that financial plan stays on track.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And in terms of the themes, multi-generation family travel, because you couldn't see the family last year and then grandparents and grandkids and family get together and then go places and then play together. But I'm hearing the opposite too. I live with those people. I've seen enough family. I want to go on my buddy trip or my girls only trip. That's also happening.
Yeah, I know. My wife just spent a weekend with the girls this last weekend, and I think that was a breath of fresh air for her. That's for sure.
Good, good. And then in terms of the theme, culinary is always popular. Food is always a fun theme to travel around. Food and wine, and within even in Colorado, we can do the food and wine travel in Palisade or something, and wellness travel for yoga and meditation type of, and then activities, outdoor activities, hiking, biking, travel is popular, particularly for small groups. They want to get together and do something fun. And art and music theme, a lot of places you could go, traveling, visiting different museums and different music show. And then at the end, Ancestry Research Trip. This is an interesting one. Ancestry.com. They are partnering with the travel operators, and then they do the research on the background and then put together a trip that you could go and visit your background.
Oh, that's a beautiful. I love that idea.
Yeah. Any question?
No, there was just a question from Cindy. She said, "When is the UK going to open fully?" We've heard a lot that the UK has done a really good job with their vaccination rollout, or at least it's hard to say, but yeah, it seems like they're a smaller country from a geographic perspective. So do you expect them to open up their borders relatively soon?
I have not heard much about it, and Ireland is the same way. A lot of people are looking at Ireland and UK to go. They are requiring quarantining to those who are coming back to the country. So I don't know that yet, but if you would like to be on the list of being notified, and I'd be happy to take your contact information and then let you know as soon as I hear it.
Great.
So preparation. Similar to what I have been talking to you about, and then check your passport sooner and make sure your expiration date is good for the duration of the trip, plus whatever the country is requiring, and know the requirements of the country. Even if you have a passport of the country, they may require visa to come home. So those kind of things, make sure you check that before you book everything, and extra time, and be flexible. That's definitely, it's not just a pandemic. Whenever you travel, make sure to build a flexibility. One time I took a trip, and then O'Hare is notorious of being late, and my flight delayed 3 hours, and I decided I'm just going to do my yoga. So I was doing my yoga on the floor and made friends with other people. But I saw another person who she planned everything on her own. 3 hours delay ruined the entire itinerary. She was crying and then screaming. So you don't want that to happen.
And that's another value of having you, is that you make sure that you build in a little bit of a buffer there, and then you can be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, and then the physically flexible to be able to do yoga at the airport.
There you go. There you go.
And then, having the overnight kit and carry on, you don't have to have everything, but just in case you have to reroute to different places. And then this is something that I do anyway, but particularly right now, since things are changing fast, it's a good idea to have overnight stuff with you. And rental car. Rental car is an interesting thing. There aren't many rental cars available, because people are using rental car to travel, even domestic. And international is the same way. Since they have not been manufacturing the car, the rental car company are selling their car. And now they are in high demand and they don't have the volume to rent. So it's expensive and it's less availability. So check that before you assume you can just go step up to the rental car counter to go to rent it. You may not have that.
We're traveling to Hawaii later in the year, and one of the recommendations was book your rental car now, because you might be SOL if you're a little bit too late to the draw there. Had somebody jump in here, and I know you're going to jump into the other pieces, but just so we touch on this and then leave enough time for it. But the step, what is that? I see that at the bottom of the list, so I don't want to overlook some of the other ones, but client, somebody did jump in and ask about that. So I want to make sure that there's some time for that.
I love this program. It is a government program. It's called Smart Travelers Enrollment Program. They will know you are going to create an account, and you keep that account as you travel. You update this duration. I'm going to be in this country, and that's all you need to do. And then if something happens, any emergency, they will notify you to contact, where you need to go. Here's an example. I had the STEP program signed and I was in Japan. And I don't know if you remember this, few years ago, there was a huge earthquake. I was right there. I got the STEP notification on my phone and saying, here's US Embassy contacting you. Are you okay? Are you in a secure place? If you need to contact, these are the embassy contact. These are places to go. Do you want us to contact your emergency contact? Just having that itself is such a peace of mind. And if something is about to happen, they will notify you as well. So that I would highly recommend. Whether you travel or not, it's a good idea to just have the account and then update when you're ready to travel.
So this might be a very good thing with a lot of the changes happening. Obviously some of these countries like Brazil and they're having some issues. India, you probably get some notifications if some dramatic thing is going on specifically with COVID, huh?
Yeah. I don't know if they have the COVID specific notification, and I haven't been using it since the pandemic. But any natural disaster, definitely they will contact you.
Excellent.
You ready for the next polling question?
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Here we go.
All right. I'm going to go to poll number 3. Sorry, I'm launch poll. All right. So now we're getting away from when you want to be traveling. Let's talk about travel inspiration. Primarily, and you have a couple of ways you can choose more than one. Primarily, where do you get your travel inspirations? Is it social media? Is it friends and family? Is it web surfing? You're just cruising around and you say, oh, look at that. I want to go there. Is it magazines or some other kind of approach there? Is it email newsletters? Do you have are you subscribing to some sort of a travel newsletter? Or is it some other approach? I'd love to hear for those that are saying other. Can you drop it in the chat feature and just say where those other inspirations are coming from? Goodness, I'm seeing a lot of friends and family here, a little bit of magazine, web surfing. I'd love to hear what those other alternatives are, where else you're getting that inspiration and where you want to plan your next destination. Would love to hear that. So, Kay, if you want to jump into it, we've got some Q&A that I'm going to save to the end. But if you want to jump to the next phase, and I'll keep the poll question open while we while you go on. But I'm really excited to hear about the next one, which is some sample itineraries that you've come up with, and you might give some inspiration here for our listeners.
Yeah. So I just pick a handful and I will share what's available. This is food is always good. I love food. So I thought the culinary Italian will be a good sample to just show it to you. This is a 6-day Cinque Terre food tour itinerary. You're going to go to the Santa Margherita and Riviera. You will start there and get welcomed. And then you're going to be strolled through the charming Santa Margherita area and then go to the Portofino. There you will meet the family of olive growers, and then they are going to show you how to make their olive oil and make their own pesto. So you're going to learn how to make pesto from the olive grower owners. And then from there, you're going to be moving to the Cinque Terre village, and many of you are probably familiar with that. And then you are going to learn why local wines are heroic. And you're going to also visiting the fishing village, which is a national treasure of UNESCO World Heritage Site. And as you go through those itineraries, you are learning something related to culinary background. And then you're going to be moving to the intriguing Genoa location, and then traditional pesotti, which is the tortellini and ravioli looking pasta. That's a stuffed pasta at a private place. And then you are going to taste chocolate and cappuccino at the Chaola Chocolate Factory. And then while you are doing that, and you are going to be discovering the hidden chaviri. And then you're going to that's a crepe-like food that you can make, and you will learn how to make that as well. And then coming back to the Italian Riviera.
Love that. So would this be a good trip for, like, in sort of this post-COVID world? It seems like, you're not, exposing yourself to the, the big sights and sounds, but would this be, a good one for this summer, this fall, maybe next year? When would this trip be good for?
I think the fall is probably a good time to go. When you think about when the harvesting is in that region, Cinque Terre, as you know, that's a popular destination. However, the places we are visiting is a private location. So the olive growers and the chocolate factories, they're not for the big group of people to just migrate into. Right. So that will be a good place to consider after the pandemic and while still doing some social distancing.
Right, not going in and packing yourself into a museum.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then eating food is always good.
Fantastic, love it.
And I will share the next one. Bicycle in Bhutan. I don't know if you are familiar with that, but the prime minister of the country is an avid biker. He is promoting the bicycle tour and people to come and look at this country. So this itinerary is 8-day multi-adventure trip. And this you want to be an active person to be able to do this, but you're going to be meeting the Bhutanese guide. And then you will be visiting places that are normally closed to foreigners. And you will be hiking above the Paro, which is the temple in that region, and learn the religion and the country, and then folklore of that area. And of course, along with that, you would learn their daily life, what that looks like. Not many people has visited Bhutan, and then they would like to share the natural life. And then the day 2 and 3, you will be biking along the breathtaking valleys in a historical area. And then you are going to go to the Doshula Pass and see the snowscape of Himalaya. You're just going to be looking at on your side as you bike. And then from there, this is going to be a very good, I was looking at the elevation gain. It's a good elevation gain, but someone who's from here, it should not be it might be similar to what we do here.
Okay. So elevation might not be a big issue if you're coming from Colorado.
I
So
don't think so. I
definitely
don't
more
think
for
so.
the active at heart. So I'm looking at my list, and I think of Jennifer. This might be a good one, or gosh, even Barb and Ken. I'm seeing you guys are big bikers now with your e-bikes, so this might be a great trip for you.
The final part is, if you can see that picture, you are gonna be hiking up to that.
Oh wow.
That's a trek. And it's called Tiger's Nest. You
Okay.
might be familiar with that.
Yes.
You're going to go up to that, and some of the areas you cannot get in, and then you will be able to get into that. So combined with pandemic and activities and outdoor, and then interesting and rare opportunity to be able to see something that are not open to public, I think this would be a great one to consider if you're an avid bikers and outdoor.
Interesting. So you kind of threw out the Italian one, and I know you have a lot of different arrows in your quiver, but the Italian trip is kind of something that more would be kind of mainstream, and so you can provide some of those things that are maybe a little off the beaten path, so to speak. That maybe if we're going on Expedia or some of the other things, we're going to kind of get shuffled into this big pot where by using somebody like you can take a very, I'm going to call it generic. It's not generic, but you can get some really kind of vivid experiences while doing some things that people wouldn't normally do if they were to kind of replicate that on their own. And then with the Bhutan thing, that's something that most people don't even have on their radar. And so it would be hard to plan around that. And so having somebody knowledgeable like you, this might be that perfect trip as well to kind of pair those two things, because I know that I have a good friend that used to live in Bhutan, but I don't know if I know that many people that have traveled there. So kind of maybe the information isn't all that there, all that widespread. So using somebody like you might be great for like a trip like this as well.
Yeah, this is just opening up. Now, as I mentioned, the Prime Minister is pushing this.
Cool. I love
so
that. That's
that
awesome.
is a new emerging destination, and this is probably a good time to go. And then you can talk about this.
I love it.
Not
That's
many
great.
people has been there. So I'm gonna have a few more minutes to do this. As everybody knows that I'm from Japan. So this is really the destination wise, it's my expertise, but this is not where I'm from. It's a tropical location, Okinawa and Kyushu. When you think about Japan, people thinking about temple and the mountain and bamboo forest. I thought I'm going to show you something unique. It's if you can go to, Okinawa is known for tropical. It's a beautiful, beautiful island. You can do scuba diving and snorkeling and a lot of places to swim. And then from there, so you can go to Ishigaki and then come back to the next island, the southern tip of the southern island of Japan, Kyushu. There's a hot spring, and there are the volcano, you might have heard that, and then castles, and that's where the feudal roads were. You can see that area in the castle, and you can take a look at the castle, what that looks like, where the samurais were. And then you can end up to the Nagasaki. People are familiar with that. There are Peace Park, but it's got a lot of influence from the foreign countries. So you will see the mix of Dutch culture, Japanese culture, and then other influence that came through the port. You are going to see that in that area. Oh, ramen.
Interesting. So, and then this is another. You've got boots on the ground. You have people that live in those areas that you're friends with and that you're keeping in touch with. So, gosh, another really amazing trip. I want to do all three of these trips.
Yeah, these are the trips that you really want to know someone who knows the local. You can't just go to the Expedias and then find the package to be on the bus to get there.
Right.
So that will be an interesting one. And I've briefly talked to you about itinerary of it's not really itinerary, it's an ancestry trip. They're working with the Kensington Tours. So the ancestry, the pro genealogist is going to do the work to find out what your backgrounds are, and then working with the Kensington to figure out what the good itineraries are. If you want to hire the data, I guess the analyst to come with you for one day, that's possible as well.
So you can retrace your family heritage in a trip. That sounds like an amazing trip.
Yep.
And gosh, you might even find, a long lost cousin at the bar. Or
Never
I
know.
would.
Never know. You might find another part of another family that you didn't know they existed. Yep, so true.
So we got a question here, and it was from Gil. They asked, when would you expect the Japanese trip or the Japan trip, excuse me, to be realistic? What do you think the time frame would be there? Would that be in the fall, next year? When do you expect that to be open?
I would like to say fall, but it might be a little bit longer. And this is where we are watching how the Olympic is going to go. Early on this year, we were notified around probably the end of March and April. We might have better idea, but the COVID case in Japan is spiking right now, and then they are issuing the alert. So we just have to see how it goes. I would like to see that Japan to open the border for vaccinated, fully vaccinated travelers.
Okay.
But at the same time, people in Japan are not vaccinated yet. So I don't know for sure when will be a good time. But I do have clients who are planning on it. And one of the service that I'm offering right now is let's put the itinerary together. So you have hotels and itinerary where to go. When the border opens, let me know. Just tell me it's a go. We can book it then. Then you're not starting to just figuring out the itinerary. They have the package.
So you can build the itinerary, and then as opposed to booking everything, you can say, hey, we're going to do this 10-day trip, and it would be nice to do it in the spring of 22 or whatever, but we'll figure it out. And so that allows you to have that flexibility. So you're not buying the plane tickets, you're not booking the hotels and things like that. You can plan it with you ahead of time. And then when the green light goes, then you can start to place all those pieces together. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
Cool.
So you have the itinerary to go.
Beauty. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we've come to the final area of the presentation. We're going to be giving away this beautiful water bottle. So I'm going to put the fourth and final poll, and this is going to be our most difficult one.
This is hard.
And it's hard. All right. So I'm going to launch this poll. What city is located at the same longitude, long, as Denver? So 39.739 degrees north. All right, we got one coming in at Fukushima, Japan. And if you get this correct, and we're going to go on the honor system that you are not out on your Google map right now. Is it Berlin, Germany, Beijing, China, Valencia, Spain, or Fukushima, Japan? We got 10 out of 15 people voted so far. We got Beijing on there. Ooh, Fukushima's coming out way ahead. Gosh, if that certainly is, I mean, you might be giving away, dozens here. All right, I'm gonna go with, give us about 10 more seconds. 9, 8 for our last little bit here. And I'm going to end the polling right now. End poll. All right. What is the city that is located at the same longitude as Denver, Colorado? Kay Fahlberg, what's the answer?
I don't have my list. I'm sorry. Taylor, give it away. Yeah. I don't have the list of the. I'm not seeing the polling.
I know, but didn't you know the answer?
Spain.
Yeah, Valencia, Spain. That's what I'm saying.
Valencia, yeah.
There you go. So Valencia, Spain is the answer. Now I need to see what the voting are.
Do we have anyone?
Well, maybe I'm just a silly guy because I'm not sure exactly how to view who did what. So give me a second, folks. But I'm very excited. So 3 people ended up electing Valencia, Spain.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, good for you all.
Good, because I have 3 bottles.
Good. Well, Jack Christensen, I'm seeing you. I got it right. If you chose Valencia, Spain, please put your name either in the Q&A or the chat box, and we'll get you that water bottle as soon as we can.
Yeah, that water bowl, you can do cold and hot, so
It's
hopefully you
terrific.
can use it for something.
Robert Tillman, all right. So I appreciate, Kay, you being on today. This is a wealth of knowledge. I want to provide an opportunity for you to share how people could get in touch with you. And then we'll open it for about 10 minutes for Q&A. But if you have to jump, I totally respect your time. It's right at the 3 o'clock hour. Again, my name is Taylor Leary. I'm a certified financial planner, and I'm the owner of 4 Points Wealth Management. And I brought Kay on, and I talk about travel is because what I believe is to take care of the whole body and the whole spirit and the whole mind and do things that uplifts all of those things. And part of that, or to do part of that, is going to be to make sure that you can afford some of those things and make them part of your life. And so I always sit down with people and create intention and mindfulness around your financial plan. And so that is going to be a core part of what I do and how I do it. So if you want to contact me and you aren't already working with me, I'd love to chat with you. You can send me an email at taylor@fourpointswealth.com, or you can visit my website at fourpointswealth.com. And so, Kay, I'll turn it over to you. How does somebody get in contact with you?
Sure.
What are the services that you provide?
Sure. If you have any questions, or if you're thinking about any future planned trip, or just want to talk, what should I be thinking about for next trip? I'd love to get in touch with you. You can contact me at my email at Kayoko, K-A-Y-O-K-O, at Ippo Travel, I-P-P-O travel.com. And you can also go to my website, Ippo Travel, I-P-P-O travel.com, and there's a contact information there. And you can also contact me on the phone, 720-773-0039. I'd love to hear from you to see how you're doing and you're planning and what you're thinking about.
That's terrific. So we had a question. Somebody asked here a moment ago, what is considered fully vaccinated? And so what we found, or what I found is that by way of the CDC, so this is going to be our government agency, obviously, is a fully vaccinated individual is going to have 2 of the shots if they're a Pfizer or Moderna, plus the 2 additional weeks. That was what they would consider fully vaccinated if you got the Moderna or the Pfizer shot. On the other hand, if you got the single dose of the Johnson & Johnson, it would be 2 weeks after you received that vaccination. So that would be what's considered, quote unquote, fully vaccinated. Let me see, another question here is, this is another good one, Kay.
Okay.
When it comes to planning, and I guess they're talking about buying the airplane tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're going to be traveling in 6 months. When should you be buying those tickets? Is that something that you should wait on, or you should buy them now? How do you see that as far as navigating just buying of the plane tickets?
That's a good question. No, normally I'd say as soon as you know it, and check the price and see if that's reasonable, and if it looks good, just go get it. But right now things are changing so much. What I recommend is to take a look at the what's available right now and see if the schedule works, and then time and price is reasonable. I'd say to book it. But if you are not certain if you're going to go or not, you may want to wait 3 months prior to your departure.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, consider the travel insurance for the entire package to make sure you are not losing anything when you have to cancel.
Yeah, so making sure that the airlines, and I've actually seen this, with like a Southwest, they do a great job of having that flexibility. And I've actually seen that United and some of the other bigger carriers are having more flexibility with your ability. They're not going to charge you that ridiculous change fee and things like that. So I think it's forced some folks, and I think this is across the board, even in my industry, even in your industry, Kay, is that they've had to change some of their business practices, and they're forcing it, and that's okay, because
Yeah.
if you're not adapting, you're dying. So that's a terrific answer.
And then they also, you probably see a good deal right now because the airline wants people to book. So if that deal works for you, it may be an opportunity to just grab it.
Right, right, very good. What would happen if you? This is another question that somebody posted here. Is what if you get to a country and you were talking about this STEP program? What if you got to a country and all of a sudden things got really crazy specifically with COVID, and they shut down their borders to get back in the United States, and maybe as an example, if President Biden said, we're going to put a timeout on people coming from Brazil or somebody like that, and you were in that country, what happens in that instance? Do you know?
I'd contact the embassy first.
Okay.
If you're a U.S. citizen, I don't think U.S. would deny you coming back.
Okay.
But I would contact that embassy first to see what the procedures are. And also you do have, that's one of the benefit of having insurance as well. The insurance company are connected with that kind of things. They should be able to help you navigate that through as well. And then you can also contact advisors.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And then this has been an interesting one. I got a question. Any recommendations to this, based off what your experience is what if you get COVID while you're traveling internationally?
Depends on the country where you are. That's one of the things that travel insurance is doing really well right now.
Okay.
If you have a good travel insurance, they should cover the hospital stay or isolation stay. Make sure you have the coverage that you can get out of the hotel if that hotel doesn't allow you to stay, or to go to somewhere safe. Or if you're staying with your friends and you can't stay there, you need to go to another hotel, insurance should cover that. So that's one of the things I would highly recommend, making sure you have it under your coverage.
Oh, that's terrific. So you're saying that it's not so much, well, travel insurance is terrific if, something happens and you need to cancel, getting some refunds there. But also if something happens in country, what you can do and what the travel insurance could potentially cover. I had an experience and heard a story of a client who got COVID in a foreign country, and they ended up having to extend their stay for another 5 or 6 days, at which point cost additional money to stay in hotels and do all that. And so knowing that travel insurance could potentially cover that cost is very, very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That they are working really hard to accommodate what's necessary, but
Right.
no, it's an insurance company. So that's why I say read the fine and the print and make sure you know what is covered.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes those are add-ons. So you might have just a basic insurance coverage, and then you may need to add to that to have
Absolutely.
that coverage. So that's something to think about.
Well, terrific. Well, it looks like we don't have any additional questions unless somebody drops something in here in the last few seconds. But Kay Fahlberg, thank you so much for being on today. Is there any parting wisdom that you would like our audience to hear from you today?
I'd say don't be too scared of this pandemic. I enjoy your travel where you want to go, and that's where you can leverage the advisors like me to do the work, and then I can help you so you can enjoy it and just have fun.
Well, thank you so much. If you need to get in touch or would like to get in touch with Kay Fahlberg, we've left her contact information up on the screen here, and she would be a great resource to help plan your next dream vacation. So thank you so much for being on today, and as always, take care of yourself and be safe.